Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Deep Look into the Paranormal podcast where mystery meets insight. Today, we will be talking and discussing water based cryptids. We've talked a lot about land based. Now, we're going to talk about, and of course, air based, but now we are talking about water based. What kind of cryptids do you think would be associated with water?
Frogman?
Frogman, okay. Any others?
Loch Ness Monster?
Well, we're not talking about either of those. We are actually going to be talking about the Kraken, the Cyclops shark, the Bloop, the giant devil snapper, and the Nigan.
Okay. I've heard of the Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of this. Do you say Sugin?
The Ni- the Nigan.
The Nigan. Okay, I have not heard of Nigan. I've heard the Sugin.
No.
Okay.
And you know, can you see the water?
I can see the water.
That the ocean has not been fully, documented. Not everything's, you know, there's still stuff out there yet to explore in the ocean. We all know that.
Yeah.
So there could be a lot of different species out there that we have no idea about just yet as well. So honestly, it can be quite scary to think that we have yet to discover everything, especially in something so deep and vast as our oceans. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about how vast the forests are on land,
Mm-hmm.
and the ocean is, what, like 70% of this planet, and we're talking about just how vast, like, 5% is? So, yeah, there's so much unexplored ocean that it's crazy.
That is true. And it seems like we only seem to focus around the coastlines or the Mariana Trench or where famous wreckages are, but we don't seem to branch off any more than that when we honestly should. And there goes a rumble of thunder. Alrighty. The first one we're gonna talk about these ones in alphabetical order. Okay? So the first one is the bloop. What do you think of when you think of the bloop as a
That,
creature?
that, oh, as a creature,
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be massive.
Yes.
I know it was also featured in a documentary, and I hate using that word for it
This
because
is
it was featured in that mermaid thing from Discovery Channel.
yeah. This is what they theorize the bloop is. And that's Bloop. That if you
Is it?
face that thing is freaking scary. Is gigantic. It's bigger than the biggest whale, which I
Yeah,
will
it's actually
discuss.
larger than.
Yeah, we'll discuss the size here in a little bit.
Okay.
Here's another picture or interpretation of what the bloop looks like. That's if that came up from the deep at you, don't you think that would freak you out too?
I wouldn't see it coming.
No, you
I just see
wouldn't.
like I just see stuff come around it.
Yeah, but it does create a bit of a wake, and to see something, a massive wake coming when something comes to breach the water, you know? Here's yet another interpretation of what the bloop would look like or possibly looks like.
Okay, that is terrifying. That is terrifying too.
Yes, yes, it is. Um, the bloop is what would be considered a sea monster slash leviathan with how big it is. or rumored to believe. It is believed to be the source of a mysterious sound heard at the tip of, or near the tip of South America, and was reported to have been heard over 5,000 kilometers in every direction. This happened in the summer of 1997. Scientists believe that the origin was from a yet to be discovered monster slash creature, and by the sound of how far away it um, was heard, theorized that the creature was massive in size, specifically over 250 feet in length. No true correlation of what it looked like was ever really determined, just speculated. And I do have what that noise was.
Do you have a recording we can play on the screen?
Well, you should be able to hear it. Listen carefully. Did you hear it?
I did not hear. Let me turn up Twitch, see if it's on Twitch. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Did you hear it that time?
I heard it on Twitch.
Okay. That's what the bloop sounded like.
Okay.
Alrighty. That sound was detected by the. I'm gonna butcher this name. I'm sorry. By the Equatorial Pacific Ocean Autonomous Hydrophone Array, a system primarily used to monitor undersea seismicity, basically seismic activity. By 2012, NOAA, or NOAA, short for National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, determined that it was not an animal at all, but more consistent with ice calving and ice quakes. This was discovered more with the tracking of an iceberg A53A near South Georgia Island in 2008, as well as monitoring the Arctic shelf itself. It was brought to light by NOAA's scientist Christopher Fox. So that noise potentially wasn't a animal at all, and but ice. However, another scientist, David Woolman, believes the noise wasn't man-made nor ice, but a marine beast based on the frequencies, which meant it was louder than any known whale and lurked far below, well within the lower depths of the ocean. It's nice that some. Go ahead.
I know of a couple YouTube channels that do exploratory things on sounds and then using scientific projections to get all this sort of information.
Mm-hmm.
They go for what can appear within the normal world versus what can appear in like movie world versus everything like that. And they did a study on the blue on what it would look like using computer generation, as well as feeding in all the information.
Mm-hmm.
It was bigger than the Mosasaurus from Jurassic World.
Oh wow! If none of you know what
And
that creature was from that movie, it's basically that. Think of that giant crocodile, but with flippers instead of legs.
the one that you see eating the great white at the
Yeah,
beginning of the
that
first, or
jumped
the
out and grabbed it, and yeah. Wow, that's
yeah.
interesting.
They've also compared, but they've also done the study that if it was actual, there's no way this creature could exist. Not with the way the ocean is right now today.
I would have to agree because something that large would need a large enough food source.
That's what they agreed upon.
And as much as I would like to believe David Woolman's theories that it is an animal. Unfortunately, when the sounds were compared, when the bloop sound for the quote unquote animal or leviathan was compared to an ice quake that was calving, um, the frequencies that he talked about matched up with the ice and the quake. And if you think about it, I'm gonna play that sound again one more time.
Okay.
You heard that bloop, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be ice that broke off from an Arctic shelf or iceberg and hits the water. Because if you drop anything in water, it makes a bloop sound.
It does. I've been that kid who's done enough cannonballs into the pool.
Yeah. Um, but still, there is a possibility there might be something out there. And this,
No, I fully agree. There is plenty of things out there that we do not know about,
yeah,
especially in the water.
yeah. And in regards to how far out the sound was heard, well, that is, um, it could be, I'm trying to think of the right word. It could be the fact that it was a large enough chunk of ice that fell that could have caused that to be heard as far out as it was.
Plus, you gotta remember the equipment that caught it was built for seismic activity.
As well as monitoring for certain submarines. But,
Yeah, and that if it caught what it was supposed to catch. A giant ice shelf falling off is seismic in nature. It's the stable ground that we're aware of moving rapidly.
yeah, friction, that is true. Since there is still so much of the ocean unexplored, could there still be something as huge as what the bloop is theorized to be out there lurking? In my honest opinion, no. Can there can there be something close to it? Yes. I mean, look at whales. It could lurk at the bottom, or it could be just constantly migrating and moving, and we just never see it in one place. You know?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean there are things like the Greenland shark
yeah,
that literally takes hours to pull up from the bottom of the ocean because that's how far down they are.
yeah.
And
They lurk
it's
way
something you
down there.
if you see one in person, you're one of a very few handful of people.
That is true. Um, and again, it goes back to something of that would be 250 feet in length. There's not enough food sources to to sustain it. It would die
Not
out.
where the world is right now. No.
Yeah, it would die out. For size comparison, so people can understand how big it is. For our monster geeks out there, our fellow monster geeks, picture Godzilla. It's bigger than Godzilla.
If you want to, this is one of those fun Google searches.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of pictures of size comparison for the bloop,
Yes.
and one of them is the bloop roaring at Godzilla. It's kind of funny to look at, but it's
Yeah.
just a giant mouth, and Godzilla is just staring at it.
It's also there are pictures of it compared to the blue whale. It's far larger than the blue whale. So you can see why it's hard to believe that this exists. It could be an exaggerated tall tale, which still makes it a potential cryptid. But it's not going to be nearly as big as what they theorize if it were to in fact exist. So it's in this case, it's a case of mistaken identity, I would think. What about you?
I would agree. I don't think there's a bloop out there.
Mm-hmm.
Though, one funny thing, if you can find it, there is a study on the evolution of the Mosasaurus versus the bloop. It's a fun little video to watch, and it basically theorizes that the ancient ancestor of the axolotl is the bloop.
Well, there's definitely possibilities out there. Um,
Because the
but
way the axolotl has its mouth open.
yes. Our next one is the Cyclops shark. When you think of cyclopses, what do you think?
I think Greek islands and eating of sheep and yelling that nobody hurt me.
Yes. Well, the Cyclops shark, though believed to be a cryptid, actually does exist. It was first seen in 2011 by fisherman Enrique Lucero Leon, and he caught it near, looks like Cerralvo Island. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Cerralvo.
Do we have a picture of
Cerralvo.
this?
Oh, in a moment. In a moment.
All right, I'm rushing.
Yes, you are. Um, it was white, one-eyed male shark that was 22 inches long. So imagine that for a moment before I pull that picture up. Okay?
22 inches long. I gotta see this thing. I'm too much of a 12-year-old at heart to not see anything that's reasonable.
It doesn't look real, does it?
Looks like a muppet. I just love it. Look, it looks adorable.
Mm.
It's like he's gonna start singing about the how the water and how we have to protect the oceans.
Enrique had been fishing off the coast of Cerralvo Island when he captured a pregnant dusk shark. When he opened his catch, he found the Cyclops shark and 9 of its other siblings, which were all dusk sharks. So even this one is a dusk shark. Uh,
Okay.
when Enrique reported the find, it was believed to be a cryptid and or hoax. So they thought it looks made up. Honestly, by that picture, it does look like it's like poorly crafted, like dough, like raw dough.
Mm-hmm.
At least where the head is should be. Um, but that was until he brought it in and handed it over to the National Geographic scientists. They studied the specimen to discover that it was in fact real.
I love that. It's like that can't be real. Proof. Slap it down.
Yeah.
It's like nope. Here you go. But you mean you didn't destroy the evidence immediately like all those people in the 60s and 70s did? Nope. I kept it.
Yeah. Um, let's see here.
I
Um,
want a kids TV
other
show based
scientists,
on
other scientists borrowed the specimen to study as well and did X-rays. And through their research, they discovered that the shark had a congenital defect called cyclopia, a rare condition mutation that can be found in several species of animals, including humans. If
Yeah, I
any,
know
go on.
the original Cyclops stories were based on found pachyderm skulls. Because when you look at a pachyderm skull, it looks like it just has one big central eye.
Yeah,
So,
that is true. Alrighty. Um, if any animal or human has cyclopia, they are usually stillborn or die very soon after birth due to a wide range of other medical issues, which is unfortunate. Makes you wonder what causes this, don't it?
uh, yeah, I mean, genetics is. We're studying it thoroughly, but not absolutely everything is known yet.
Here it is next to its siblings.
It does not look like it's a sibling.
It is. Cyclopia is caused by a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Most of the time, it has no known cause, though. Do you want to know what some of the genetic factors are?
Yeah, let's go over some of the genetic factors that we are aware of.
Mutation in genes involving early brain development, such as PAX6 and SHH.
If we have any geneticists who watch this, please explain that to chat
Please, that would be
or
grateful.
post an explanation of it. That'd
That
be wonderful.
yes. A chromosomal abnormality such as trisomy 13, basically an extra chromosome.
Okay.
Yep. Environmental factors, exposure to certain pterogens like cyclo- cyclopamine, which is found in a plant Veratrum californicum. Oh, sorry, I'm butchering them. I know, I apologize. Also known as cornlily or California false hellebore.
Yeah, scientific names are hard.
Yes. Maternal diabetes, alcohol consumption while pregnant, exposure to certain medications while pregnant.
So, are there any other factors that go into causing this deformity?
No, that's pretty much it. Our next one is called the giant devil snapper. Oh, wait, before I do, let me. This is what that flower looks like. I did grab a picture of it.
I swear I've seen that flower a lot, but I don't know where.
Yep. But here is the only picture I've managed to get of the giant devil snapper. It is located in Imbia Marsh or Lake Imbia, which is in Chiba Prefecture, Japan.
Okay.
That's a long name. Sorry. Um, the locals around the area told cryptid specialist and researcher, looks like Takeshi Nakazawa, about the beast. They that since the 2000s, large tortoises with shells over 2 meters in length were spotted there. They called the giant devil snapper. They warned that it was highly aggressive and known to attack animals and humans alike. Now, 2 meters. How big? How far? How large do you think that is?
That's between 6 to 7 feet long.
That is correct. Mr. Nakazawa went to the marsh to discover that it was indeed big enough to house such a large creature, but believes that it may just be a case of exaggerated misidentity. That it was more than likely an evolved snapping turtle or a mixed breed between two different species of turtle, though he never actually saw the devil snapper himself.
That would make sense. I mean, generally, whenever you get two different species crossbreeding, the result is usually smaller. But there are known cases of the offspring being larger than both parents. And snapping turtles by themselves can get extremely large.
Especially alligator snapping turtles.
Yes.
And those things are highly vicious.
Oh yeah, no, they're nasty. You don't want to be playing with them unless you're a trained professional.
Because they can get anywhere from like 3 to 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts about there being a possible nasty 6 foot turtle out there? You think it's a possibility?
I do actually. Like I said, I think genetically, if it's a crossbreed that has the oh, what is it? I can't remember the name of it. But the genetic condition that causes
Giantism?
giant, yeah,
Yeah, that
then
could.
that is altogether possible, especially for how long turtles live. We're
Yes.
not talking a short lifespan, and if they have enough food in an area, they can go dormant for a long time and not need to eat. So the food supply is not as dependent. It doesn't have to be as robust as you would for, say, a mammal or another type of creature that has to eat as often as we eat.
Yeah. So, the possibility of there being a giant devil snapper could
I
truly exist.
I agree. I
And it is a possible cryptid out there. The thing is, you don't want to go marching in there, half cocked into a area where you know something of that proportion is living.
Yeah, because they're ambush predators. You'll lose a leg.
Yes, they are.
We have enough stories in the states of people losing their feet to snapping turtles. So
And that's just snapping turtles. That's not even talking about the alligator snapping turtles. The alligator snapping turtles are even more aggressive and can definitely take you down. You'd bleed out before you even got help.
yeah,
All right. Now we go on or move on to our next cryptid, which is. Let's see if you can tell what it is when I pull up this picture.
is that the kraken?
Yes. The
Is it a humanoid kraken picture?
It's one depiction. It
Okay.
is one depiction. It is considered a sea monster of immense size. It was believed to originate from an exaggerated descriptions of a giant squid, which can grow up to 10.5 meters, which is 34 feet in length. And giant squids do exist.
Mm-hmm.
It was first seen in 1700 by Francisco, looks like Nagiri, then cited again in 1734 by an account or accounted by Dano-Norwegian ministry and explorer Hans. Looks like last name's Egede.
I got no clue.
I don't
Sorry,
know
I
how
won't
to
help.
pronounce that either. Um, However, the first credited sighting was given to a Danish bishop, Pontoppidan, in sorry if I butchered that name too, in 1753, as he described it as a giant octopus of immense size. He also stated that because of its size, it could very well pull ships down into the water, thereby gaining its reputation as a kraken.
Now, just curious, these encounters were they on like whaling vessels or just yachts, or do we know that?
Shipping vessels, merchant vessels, not just yachts and stuff like that. Trade ships.
Okay, so we're talking galleons or bigger. Okay.
Yes, and as well smaller. Um, this sparked many stories from many authors since then, as well as costing the lives of many aiming to hunt and kill one to bring back proof. Such authors were Victor Hugo, 1866, Jules Verne, Linus Bartholin, I guess, and Christian Franz Polanyi, just to name a few. So, so if you
Okay, I
see
recognize some of those names.
some of the yeah, some of these stories and tall tales, of course, are going to get exaggerated over time because it makes for a better story. It
Very
makes
true.
for to seem more intense, more scary. However, someone's going to go out there and be stupid and try and catch one and what have you. And what they don't realize is these giant squids are massive.
Mm-hmm.
And just like octopuses, their tentacles have suckers on them too. So when they latch on, it's not going to be easy to get them off.
And don't they also have little like sharp like fingernail like talons in their suckers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's another picture or depiction of one. If you don't know what a giant squid is, go ahead and look it up. You'll see what we're talking about. So, is this a case of extreme exaggeration, mistaken identity, and is it honestly um, just a giant squid that scared that living, daylights out of a bunch of fishermen?
Um, I think it's a little bit of a mix. Simply because we're talking about a creature that we've seen smaller versions of according to their narratives.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes if you see something like that and you're only seeing part of it come out of the water, it's very easy to exaggerate the fish story length.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the further back in the past you go, the more that the oceans have been left untouched, the bigger stuff was.
Yes, that is true.
So what we consider like a world record today, a couple hundred years ago, probably was the top end, but not the extreme.
Right.
And let's not forget that octopods, octopuses, and squids are incredibly intelligent.
Yeah, they are.
And we're talking about creatures that can squeeze through very small surfaces, small holes, creatures that can change their shape and coloration based on mood. If they don't
Kind of
want to
like
be
the
found,
cuttlefish.
exactly, they don't. They're not going to be found.
Mm-mm.
And they're also octopi are a species that are extremely hard to keep in aquariums, simply because they crawl out.
Yeah, they can survive a short time out of water.
Yeah, especially if they're looking for food.
Mm-hmm.
And but if there's plenty of food where they're at, they're just going to stay where they're at. Um, so I know that there are the sperm whale. One of its favorite foods is squids. So some of the wounds that they've seen on sperm whales uh, have dinner plate size suction marks and gouges.
They came in contact with a giant squid.
And we don't know which one of those were. Well, the one that we found that's still alive is probably the victor, but doesn't mean that the other one died either.
That is true.
So it's I believe that we may just be seeing their descendants as giant squids, but I fully believe the kraken did exist at one point.
Well, think about it. Back then, not like we had only basically dipped our toes into the what the possibilities of the ocean are. And back then, things would have been left alone to grow to immense sizes. Nowadays, they are not. The moment they see a big one, they're like, "Ooh, let's track it," or "Ooh, let's kill it and study it," which is unfortunate when the creature was just doing its own natural thing. Um, do you know where the kraken or the giant squid stories originally began? Where about in the world?
I want to say it would come from the Norwegians
That is correct.
because
Norwegians
they were
and Icelandic.
because they were the premier sailors of the ancient world.
Mm-hmm. That is
I
very true.
mean, we talk a lot about the English fleet, but when you're talking about the farther back you go, it's the Norwegians. They were the masters of the sea first.
Yep. Okay. As we move on to our next one, and our last one for this episode, the Nigan.
Okay, I have no clue what this thing is.
Um, the location of
What?
where. What?
Sorry, that caught me off guard. I was not expecting that.
Yep. Its location is circling near and around Japan. What?
My brain just screamed kaiju.
You could be considered. Completely white in color and estimated to be around 20 to 30 meters in length.
Oh, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said it could be considered a kaiju.
Yeah.
Um, Eyewitnesses claim them to be humanoid in shape with legs, arms, and five-fingered hands. Some have seen with fins or large mermaid-like tails instead of legs. Some have reported it to have tentacles as well, while others claim it to be a small, armless, bipedal humanoid.
Okay, I don't associate the word small with anything 700 feet long. Are they saying this thing comes from sizes from small to 700 feet?
Yes. You see this one?
Yeah.
That's a diver. That's just for size comparison.
Oh, this. I thought that was a little emblem in the corner.
No. No.
Okay. I. The scientific part of my brain says this doesn't exist because of.
Yeah, this one looks more fabricated. That
Yeah.
looks like the back end of a whale. And then there's also this one.
That looks like a fish that's passed away.
Or a different kind of fish, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, First credited reported sighting of the Nigan was in the 1960s. Most encounters are reported at night when they are seen. They are usually only seen at night when they come up to the surface. Otherwise, you don't normally catch them during the day. Um, the Now for our conspiracy theorist audience, you might want to pay attention to this next bit. The government, more likely of Japan, has kept detailed reports of the Nigan sightings, but will not release any information to the public. Why is that? They also have instructed all eyewitnesses to remain silent, as they don't want to invite undue scrutiny and tarnish the scientific reputation of the whale research program. Sounds to me like they're just making up an excuse and they don't want people to freak out knowing that there might be something massive out there.
I. I. Part of me agrees with you completely, but I also think it might be something a little bit more money driven.
Yes, it could be.
Um, I'll get to that whenever you finish your explanations because I have a theory and I'm gonna run it past you too.
Okay. Are they afraid? Are they hiding something? Could it be just an unidentified marine animal? Or what about the possibility? Let's go back to this one. Melting ice.
That one I could definitely see be melting ice. That could be, yeah, because it's kind of amorphous and kind of bobby. Because it looks like it's for the ratio of what's above versus below water.
Yeah, and these could just be like streams of water from the sharp bits or the pointy outcroppings, dragging through just like the water, like how this is causing a wake over here. Those could just be water
Hmm.
wakes.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
My theory
Mm-hmm.
is some of those other ones you showed me. Seeing the hands kind of made me realize whales have a variety of different bones in their fins. And if you were to strip the flesh away from it or the muscle, it could kind of resemble a human hand. If something is killing whales that's not supposed to, I don't know if I send you a picture, could you put it up?
Possibility.
I don't know. I'll send this to you because what I'm sending is the picture of what a whale skeleton looks like.
Oh, that's so big.
I'm
Hold on
sorry.
1 second. This is like a 3D image.
Yeah, this is a 3D rendering of a whale
Humpback.
skeleton.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, let's see if I can get it pulled up here for you. Can you see it?
I can see it now. In our youth, one thing that was happening that on a global scale was the hunting of whales. It's not something that the Japanese government really wants discussed. It's something it doesn't want to be brought up. However, it was happening. So if they were to try, if there was a smaller ship that had killed a whale but harvested only the parts it wanted and pushed the body back in the water,
They do that with
eventually,
sharks too.
yeah, the decomposition would cause it to rise for a certain period of time. If it was in an area that had small fish that were flesh eating, it would start to look something like these depictions.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is less. I think this is less of a cryptid and more of just a government wanting to make sure what's happening isn't brought to light. Because there was a lot and a lot of bad press and publicity concerning the fishing habits of, uh, well, the sailors in that area.
Yes,
I'm not trying to target Japan specifically. It's just they were known for it, but everyone in
that
Asia,
area. Well,
yeah,
not everyone in Asia. It's more like this, like Pacific Islands and things like that.
yeah,
But either way, um, and it could very well be maybe a new whale out there that we just don't know that's in that specific area.
true. I mean, skeletons are kind of funny that way. If you look at certain skeletons, there's no way to tell how exactly that creature was. I mean, would you know that a whale had a flipper at the end of its tail by looking at that?
Nope.
Yeah,
I
and
think where's its legs?
yeah, that's what I would think. Where are the legs exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Is this or does this thing like squirm around like a snake or
Yes.
it's hard to see and just like just like dinosaurs, fairly certain dinosaurs probably had a lot more feathers than we ever thought they did.
That is true. That is
have you
definitely.
seen have you seen the pictures of the fluffy T-Rex?
Yes.
They're adorable, but
They're not supposed to be adorable.
little baby chicken is fluffy fluff.
Yeah. But
So
anything's possible out there. There's still a lot to
true,
explore in the oceans.
yes,
And just because if you. Go ahead.
because the ocean's crazy. There's things going on deep down there, like crabs that can create plasma blasts, and
Yes. And it really can. And the thing is, don't go out of your way to, oh, if you see something new, something unidentified, don't go out of your way to harm it. Let it live.
in this day and age, we have the wonders of a smartphone,
Mhm.
practically worldwide. You
Take a
have the ability
picture.
to take photos, take videos. Yes, they'll be blurry. Yes, they will be scrutinized, but that is the best way to make sure that whatever you're seeing, the wonder that what it is not harmed.
Exactly, so that the future generations can see and experience it. Because there's so many extinct animals out there that are no longer visible.
Right.
They've been killed off. And for what? Because someone wanted a rich pelt? Someone wanted fin soup? Someone, you
Because
get the
they
point?
destroyed their home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Be kind to animals and be safe and be vigilant, And be can't stress how important it is, but be safe.
Yeah.
Do you have
How did
anything?
we not talk about? How did we not bring up mermaids for this?
We kind of did with the Nigan.
Okay. Yeah. They're. I, okay.
But we will actually go more in depth for one episode in season 2 for mermaids and stuff like that. So it will come up again for
Okay. Just
sure.
making sure because I know certain someone who absolutely loves mermaids,
Yeah, that's me. I love it. I even got a fake tail and monofin to swim around in.
and I would very much like to dive into the history of the Fiji mermaid and things like that.
Okay, we will definitely look into it. Um, but for now, thank you everyone for watching and tuning in to a deep look into the paranormal where mystery meets insight. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think. Hit that follow button if you wouldn't mind, please, so you can stay up to date when we go live on Twitch. You could also join us on our Discord. And if you're watching this on YouTube in the future, please hit the like button if you like, dislike if you dislike, and don't forget to subscribe. Until then,
A like means a lot to us. We always
yes, a like, a dislike, comments. Comments, I can't stress enough. Comments. Comment what you think. Let us know what you'd like to see, because it's your interaction, whether positive or negative, that help us learn what to do, what not to do, and what to dive more into. Right?
I like that. I like that a lot. We're talking about the water when you're talking about diving into. That's a good.
Yes.
I like that.
Pun intended.
Yes,
Okay,
I
until
agree.
next time. Goodbye, everyone.